I'm Dane Rose, and in this episode of Ideas Worth Action, I want to explore the possibility that an autonomous trailer may be more important and a more significant and intelligent effort to prioritize than, for example, the Tesla Model Y or the Tesla pickup or many other things that I'm personally quite excited about as someone that's been following Tesla's progress. And so, as a very quick overview, I want to talk about the idea of a fiberglass trailer shell, maybe around 8 to 10 feet long, that's narrow enough in its core fiberglass structure to fit within a shipping container, to be loaded onto a train, to fit within a tunnel, such as that developed by the Boring Company, and as a fully self-propelled and both autonomous and paired trailer, something that can attach, for example, to a car. So let's explore and unpack why I think this is such an important idea. And the first one is price. I believe that something like this can start in the $13,000 range. And while it can certainly go up, with the expansion of battery pack, etc., I think that this is something that could start at a $13,000 range, which makes it incredibly affordable. Secondly, we've got production. When you've got either an aluminum or a fiberglass framework, this is something that is incredibly easy to produce rapidly and cheaply. So let's kind of walk through some of the features. So the Tesla, I've been thinking of it as a Tesla trailer because they're so set up to make this. But really, this could be made by any manufacturer, and I think if Tesla doesn't make it, some manufacturer probably will. Now it has all of the kind of self-driving features of a Model 3 without the screen. It's got the chip, that level of chipboard, and so that aspect, at least at current time, would need to be partnered with Tesla. But no screen. So you control the app via a Bluetooth Wi-Fi link with your phone. So we reduce the cost of the screen in that area. But otherwise all the self-driving features are similar to a Model 3. Secondly, every manufacturer of a good electric vehicle can write the code interface that will allow this trailer to partner with that car. Now, this is incredibly important because with that addition to the app, where you'd select the model of your car, and either an independent developer could develop the link or the auto manufacturer that made the car could develop the link. With that module, the trailer is able to perfectly link with the car anticipatorily. Now, with a crude model, version as a secondary option, the trailer can be set to respond to the car. In other words, as soon as the car pulls, accelerates more than 2 miles per hour, and puts more than 100 pound on the tongue, it can be trained to follow the tongue, because the tongue is something that inserts and retracts and can connect with any car having the compatible hitch on the other side. So you have the app, the core app, then you have the link to a specific car with a backup of a a tongue responsive guidance system, within the trailer. So you pull torque on the tongue, the trailer starts speeding up to, reduce the pressure to a certain point. You put on the brakes, the trailer puts on the brakes, etc., so that it stays in sync. Next we come to safety features. One of the ways, if we jump ahead and look for the fact that, particularly for a company like Tesla, this trailer would accelerate the speed towards autonomous vehicles, because the trailers, not having impatient human beings in them when they're in autonomous pod mode, which just means the tongue is retracted and these are now autonomous vehicles. The trailer can drive slower, less aggressively, and is also much safer to crash into. This shell that is designed as a storage container is a pretty safe object. It's almost like a cushion. If you were to run into, to rear end or be hit by an autonomous pod, it's much safer than with a semi or even another gas vehicle with all that weight of a metal engine. Similarly, other safety features are rubber paddings, a little bit like the post office uses around their vehicles because they're tired of denting people's cars and paying for it. So having that kind of rubber padding around all of the sides of the trailer creates a bumper effect that, again, dramatically improves its safety. Now, because it's not a human vehicle, the need for coolness, for looking good, decreases, which dramatically reduces cost per square foot on any trailer or autonomous pod. Similarly, because you don't need it to look cool, etc., you can have a solar roof. This entire roof can be a solar panel charging the battery pack, which is at the base of the trailer. This gives it incredible safety as well in terms of the center of gravity. But it also means that sitting trailers, which would be, for if you owned a trailer, the majority of us would, this would be a mini storage unit, etc., a little place where we keep our tools, something we take to move something from time to time. It is charging the battery from the solar panel. And so that if you didn't use the trailer for 2 months, you've got a fully charged battery with no expense. And when it's being towed and consuming power, it is also simultaneously charging. This also provides the benefit to do range extending. So a solar roof over what is a fairly sizable roof. So and this, you could actually have a battery pack that would extend the range of your car and not decrease it at all, because it is syncing. It is not taxing a Model 3. You could even have, a tinier car, electric car, like the 500e Fiat, something like that, and it could tow this trailer even with 1 or 2 tons in it, because the propulsion is all from the trailer. Second, aspect of a trailer that you can't really do with a truck as easily or, as politically correctly, as coolly, is advertising. You can have huge banner ads all around this trailer, which in the leasing program, which we get to later on, allows for, an income source from the company leasing the module, but you've got really significant banner coverage, which can be significantly valuable for business. Then we come to the fleet aspect, because every single trailer or pod has a retracting and an extending tongue, and a hitch at the back, just like the car. a car can tow one of these trailers, or it can tow 10, 20 of them. They can keep extending indefinitely. Now, the core module of every trailer is it has the computer chip capable for autonomous driving, no screen necessary, the different sensors around it, that a typical car would have that would allow it to self-park and to regulate and respond to, to various traffic situations, and to link with the car. And it also has this third wheel that extends and raises. Now, the wheel, something around this size right here, which goes up and down, would be a weight bufferer. And so, think of it, first of all, be aware that the benefit of not having humans in these versus the car is the car has to be really nice and high value per square foot. But a trailer does not have to have good suspension because nobody's sitting in it. It's got to be cheap and utilitarian. So having a rubbery ball in a ball bearing type setup where it can turn any which way lets all of the weight in the front be balanced, so as not to stress the tongue of a car, so that any type of car you could even have this on a bicycle, frankly. You could be bicycling in a tongue-guided setup where this trailer, solar charging, etc., goes along, and you have your camping gear, and you can go across country on a bicycle, if the tongue guidance system is there. And as I say, it can be extended or shrunk. These can run in convoys on a highway such that if they're running autonomously, they would naturally join a convoy, which would be good for wind, good for safety. They would basically seek a convoy, join into all the other similar trailers on the road. This ties in also with tunnel transportation, as well. So you could be on a road trip, moving house across country with 5 of these. 1 of them you own and 4 of them on lease. And you come to a rest area on the highway where you want to leave these, and then you go and stay in a hotel, and then you pick these up the next morning as you continue your journey. Or you leave 2 of them, in the rest area, and you drive off with the last one, which has some of your personal belongings. You can pair these in any which way, and it would be natural for the infrastructure to evolve in truck rest stops, etc., to accommodate these pods, which would, when you're ready to separate from your convoy, you send them to the nearest rest stop for charging, which they can self-charge. You go to your hotel, and then they meet you when you're ready to continue. The self-driving is really important for utilizing the full potential, of all of this. And also because there's no people in it, because they can be programmed to be very non-aggressive in their style, letting other people cut ahead of them as often as necessary, etc., because they can drive at night when very few people are on the road. This would be one of the best ways for Tesla to test its chip, for example, to demonstrate in the per millions of autonomous runs with these things that they are way safer than people, so that cars can follow more intelligently after that fact. Next, we come to the alarm and camera. The Sentry mode in the Model 3 is very effective at a number of things. This can be an option, meaning that anyone can upgrade the trailer to Sentry mode, which simply means that via your phone or your car screen, you can see what the cameras see around your stuff and your trailer, which reduces theft, and that stuff will be uploaded to the internet, etc., in real time, which reduces theft. You can also see where they've parked, for example, meaning if you're not quite sure that these are going to park in the appropriate place, or maybe that they haven't done their meter or something like that, and cities will upgrade their metering so that cars can automatically refill the meters where they're next to wirelessly. Since who wants to be dealing with quarters and credit cards and traffic tickets? Why have traffic enforcers when everyone can start using Bluetooth to automatically up their meter? You get rid of ticket enforcers, you get rid of those ugly stands, you get rid of the hassle, etc. But the alarm and camera as an upgrade feature increases security. Like if you're a fiberglass container that could be broken into, you might feel very uncomfortable with musical instruments being in there worth tens of thousands of dollars. But the fact that it's got alarm, video, is self-driving, and can even do some, if it's sensing attack or something, it can even drive itself out of that neighborhood and go to somewhere else. This provides enormous levels of additional security and reassurance. Like, I'm in another country. Has anyone broken into my storage, space? Well, you just check the camera inside and out, up, good to go, and off your way. Self-parking is a very important feature. I've touched on it, but just that basically you can enter a city and press scatter, and you park your car, and these will rotate around until parking spaces are provided. Or maybe there's a separate, a special underground parking where, because these are all electric and non-human occupied and don't have fumes, they can just go into an underground area under a building, etc., and then emerge when you're ready to connect with them. You say regroup at this time, they sync with the GPS in your car, and they can come in. Now, they can make their own tongue connection with your car, which is one of the most irritating aspects of trailering. And they can also help back up because of their own smart sensor, etc. You can just tell your car where you want to go, and the whole fleet will back up, which would otherwise be an absolute nightmare for a trailer convoy like this, to try and figure out all the back and forth to 10, 20 trailers behind you. That's where the self-driving is really critical, because the dual motor control of each of the two back wheels, the ball bearing just goes wherever it is and ups and downs, as the front support when needed. But the back two wheels steer the vehicle and propel the vehicle. Then we have leasing by the hour. Who would want a pickup? I mean, I'm a contractor and I use my pickup, more than the average homeowner, but who would want a pickup if they could order a trailer to follow behind a much easier to park car? My pickup is hard to park in Safeway. They have, compact. My truck doesn't fit in those spaces. I have to go off in the corner and stuff like this, to find the full-size space. And even then, they're a bit tight. And there's a good parking space, but not for a truck. Who would want to drive a truck when you've got leasing by the hour, where you just press and something arrives at the store you've gone to, or it could even connect with you while you're driving? You click demand on the highway because you're off, about to go somewhere, and one of these pods roaming around in a lease fleet comes up behind you, makes tongue connection, synchronizing perfectly with your app and vehicle and the phone while you're driving. You go where you need to go with using the pod, which can be configured in a variety of different ways, and then you send it off an hour later because it's done what you wanted it to do. Nobody wants a pod. They want what the pod can do. So leasing by the hour, which, as I said, ties in with advertising. Then you've got the mini storage thing, a huge phenomena in the U.S. And here we tie into, for example, the Boring Company. Because when you have self-propelled pods and these relatively small, tunnels but they do a mile for $1 million, if I'm not mistaken. So if you can go, so first of all, they don't have to be ventilated. These are electric autonomous vehicles. Secondly, that you don't have to look at them. They're underground. They're under mountains. Thirdly, having tunnels like this provides good, safe, for tsunamis and earthquakes and stuff. You can actually vacate the pods and go in as human beings because tunnels are safer than being above ground in an earthquake, or tornado, a hurricane, etc. So having more and more tunnels of a Boring Company nature creates a resource for the community for survival. Number one. Number two, it keeps you looking at nature rather than mini storage buildings. Number three, building a mile of tunnel with all of the pods that can fit, stacked side by, one after the other in a tunnel is way more economical than how much it costs to build the typical mini storage unit. Secondly, not having to go and get your stuff, having your just button, I want my pod, and this pod arrives at the house 20 minutes later, and then it goes back to its underground tunnel after you've got your stuff, borrowed it, and sent it back. So housing costs go down. Why do housing costs go down? Because the cost of constructing these pods is, 1/10 the cost of constructing a modern house and a nice view. So when you can order your stuff from underground, vertical lifts or in-ground tunneling, this is incredibly cheaper than, having this giant house, also that you can, walk around and get all these things. That most of the things, frankly, if I look at how much I use most of the stuff in my house, most of the stuff in my house is not used 98% of the time. Why is it there? Because of the bother of going and getting it, and just going to a mini storage place, having to unpack it and all of that. But if I could have a house that was half the size and just call certain things up or, share living spaces, etc., I would do that. So mini storage is huge in tunnels or otherwise. Now, the mini storage thing would be one version that I think would be worth designing differently, because you wouldn't want to store a battery in a tunnel. One, it's not going to recharge. Two, this windbreak thing that's good for transportation is not maximized for storage. Three, the wheels take up space. So what I would do with the storage, I would divide this as one separate unit. It would have the same base, battery pack, ball bearing wheel, sensors around, the side of the base, and then a unit that was designed to slide precisely into a shipping container would be created as the standard mini storage unit. And there's a good reason for this. I've looked at shipping containers, locally, and my street is not designed to drop a 40-foot shipping container. It's just not. And that's the most economical, format to fit in. It's not really good for 20-foot shipping containers. So they say to me, we'll drop one nearby in a parking lot and you'd have 3 hours to load the whole shipping container. Otherwise, you're charging a truck to sit by it $150 an hour. And it's a nightmare. So it's like, I don't want to ship in that way, so I'm not shipping. Now, with these pods that are designed to insert into a shipping container, you have depots in every town or city where the shipping container is loaded and unloaded onto the railway and onto the semis. But these pods, which slide into the sleeve of the shipping container, from the back door in a certain number, per 20 or 40 foot container, maybe 10 foot long, they arrive at your house and stay there as long as you need to pack them. And then when you've packed and certified it, you send it to the shipping container. Now, this does a number of things. It increases the shipping efficiency in the entire world by about 15%. Why? Because a 40-foot shipping container, which is ideal for a boat and all that, can go from here to Thailand. As soon as 4 different pods are ready to go to Bangkok from San Francisco, for example. You don't need to fill the entire container with one person. You just say, I want to go from this address to this address, and the shipping and the app on the container says this is the destination. And any shipping container that wants to take that app because they've got 3 other pods and they need one more pod to have a full container, accepts, gives a price. You can even bid and say, as soon as someone will take me from here to here for $3,000 or less, I will ship with them. And you just wait. And you might wait a month. And then someone says, last minute cancellation, you're on for $3,000. And your pod drives itself at that point into the shipping container and goes on its way. So that's, with that. And then with that idea, you'd need little ball bearing type wheels at the bottom. And the third wheel that extends or retracts to keep the thing level on slopes, that's another, balancing feature, also can tip these containers into a shipping container such that it wheels along and then, whether from an internal bracket within the container come along, pull it into place, or once it has deposited the storage unit in the shipping container, this autonomous ram can have a rubber bumper that actually pushes the pod fully into the shipping container and comes back, and does the same with another pod, so that this can actually load a shipping container. This also, with this, with these ball bearings, would be would allow these to be put into a tunnel without needing to keep the wheels there if it was for long-term storage. Finally, we have night driving as a benefit, because if I'm a contractor and I need 22 by 4s, 40 bags of concrete, 20 one, I want to get the best parking space. Well, let's say my job, is busy parking and stuff. This pod can roam around and find the nearest parking spot, to the site, stay there, send me a security update via my app. The thing is here, this is the picture, etc. And then, it's done that in night, not in rush hour traffic, which actually decreases traffic usage, as much as possible for everyone. So it's a courtesy that any of these pods that could be delivered during nighttime would be delivered from the hours of midnight to 4 a.m., for example. And the computer chip that would be on here would be, the latest Tesla. Since they're light years ahead of everyone else, and that could be the exchange, that Tesla would provide the chip at cost in exchange for data free from every trailer going back to Tesla, so that it has the best autonomous driving software, in exchange for that service. And this would be the difference also between, as an upgrade, those that wanted to have an autonomous trailer or just have a tongue-guided trailer, the tongue being what inserts into, the vehicle or the trailer ahead of it. If it's a tongue-guided trailer, or you might have one autonomous trailer and 5 tongue-guided trailers behind it, and that being a leased service that could be leased hourly. It could be leased as a flat rate yearly. It could be leased for a lifetime, so that when you need autonomous driving, your vehicle can receive it. And finally, we look at the versatility. I know it's a lot to take in, but just to open the doorway of all that's possible with this vehicle. So number 1, housing. You could go on a road trip, have your bedroom in this pod, have your bathroom shower unit in this pod, have some of your stuff and your art supplies for painting in this pod, and you go on an artist road trip. Now you've got housing. You've got moving, where a pod pulls up, you load it up with stuff and send it on its way. A pod comes up, you load it with stuff and send it on its way, so that it's not such a big ordeal, these giant trucks and stuff, because these will get into any road, imaginable. Finally, we have deliveries of groceries and all of that. Amazon would definitely want to partner with the leading carrier in autonomous deliveries, particularly once they have a bot that would allow you to unpack, and Amazon could customize the interior of these to GPS organize the box and product that needs to be ready. So rather than the current system of Amazon fumbling around looking for the box in the outsourced cars that they give people and taking a photo, there's even less issue. Like an Amazon delivery person could deliver a box, take a photo, and then take the box and leave. When this is all autonomous with no person in it, that's much less likely. Similarly, you could have a fleet of these that one person is managing. That where you could set an Amazon box in a standard that this thing would interact with that box, and you'd get delivery discounts, meaning if you didn't need a person because you set up your space to take automated deliveries, that you'd get a 10% discount on all shipping, plus get faster shipping, something like that. So this would then incentivize a delivery port specifically for such things, or we can then get into that the pod's job is to select the package and put it in the port, and that there's a robot that gets to know every single bit, rather than being an autonomous robot totally. It would learn, it would ask a homeowner to guide it into a specific situation and out of it, and then it would bring the package to the front door, pause if it encountered any person, and then resume and just stand on the back of the pod. We also have tool sheds, to eliminate the need for garages. We have a media pod where you can have specific environments, let's say a massage environment, a relaxation environment, a media pod, where something that is soundproof. Imagine completely soundproof as a studio, where you'd rent a studio, and of course the camera would record the whole studio setup at the beginning and at the end for quality control, and the next customer would provide things. But you'd actually get a YouTube media production studio arrive. You'd make your video. Maybe you're in a lunch break at work and you press that at 12:30 you want your media video. You make your 15-minute YouTube presentation and upload it to the internet or SD card. And this media pod has all the backdrops, the best cameras, the best microphones. It goes from one media producer to another as needed on an hourly rental. Or it is if you've got a bunch of kids and you want to make content, you can't do it in your house. So you go out to the media pod that's specifically for that. Then we have a response to homelessness, the fact that these can be set up as mobile toilets, mobile showers, mobile, one of these pods could be filled with batteries, so that at a fair, rather than these noisy generators, at a fair, you have, a gigawatt of power or something pulls up, and you've got 3 days of completely silent power, and then these drive off and recharge, because the fair happens once a year, or provide, which brings in another thing. If you've got one of these with a good battery cell and your power goes out in your house, you've got maybe backup power for all your laptops, computers, a bit of air conditioning. You can plug in, you can have an inverter in these as an optional upgrade to whatever specification. So you can not only charge your car, but can charge your house, or tools. And finally, emergency aid. The fact that you could, send these down to New Orleans in a fleet packed with aid. The fact that these can pick up nonprofit charity donations. The fact that you can summon I've put a charity donation here in a box that this can pick up. The same Amazon port could be a standardized port where you want to make a donation, you put it in that container in that size box, and just like the garbage folks, grab it and put it in. All your clothing, all your shoes, all your donated food, anything you have that you'd like to give away, because Americans throw away 102 tons of garbage in the course of a lifetime. Anything you want to go away goes in one of those boxes, you click summon. The next one to go through your neighborhood picks it up and delivers it to the desired location as a nonprofit donation. And so this is why the fact that this can be stamped out in mass production with no designer, everything needed for this is already in existence in much more refined, technology than the current thing. Like this, you don't need a 17-inch touchscreen for this. You just need the chip. The safety values don't have to be quite as high given, the fact that it's cargo rather than human beings. They are safer to hit than a car in most situations. They can drive slower, let road rage drivers cut them off, etc. They don't have feelings. So they can, arrive, whenever. And you eliminate 90% or more of the need for a pickup, which makes your parking easier, makes your car cheaper. And you have far more versatility with this. So I encourage you to reach out to Elon and anyone in the manufacturing business and present this pitch. Thanks for watching.